Hello colleagues, you are welcome to lesson 17 and I hope you have been practicing. In this lesson we're going to learn about one of the MOODLE tools, which is the quiz model. With the quiz model, we'll start with the fundamentals, then we'll start building on it, then you can explore the rest. With the quiz model, the first thing you have to do is either you set questions in the question bank, then you set up the quiz and now move questions from the question bank to the quiz. In a typical traditional setting, you are likely to have questions that you want to include in a typical quiz. The same thing can be mimicked on the online platform. So what must you do? Any resource, any activity, you need to use a label to talk about it before you bring out the activity or the resource. So the same way, I'm just assuming that all that has been done. What you need to do is, if you have your add an activity or resource in the collapsed form, then you see it like this. But if it is separated or expanded form, then you go to add an activity and select quiz. But in this case, I'll click on add an activity or resource, and it's an activity, so I'll go for the quiz, add, and set up the parameters. So that's the first thing. All that we're doing now, we are not setting items, we are setting up a quiz. For example, the duration, the date of the quiz, the format, and the like. So what is the name of the quiz? This is the one that the learner will see and click on. So let's name this quiz 1. Then you can give some description, and that description may be some instructions to the quiz, and we advise that don't display the description on the page. It will make the course page clumsy. Then timing. When should the quiz be open for the students to take? If you want to set the time and the date, then you enable this. Today is 19, so it automatically pick it, and it is 19:14 GMT. That is 14 minutes past 7 p.m. So you can set it with this. So if you want this quiz to be available, despite setting the date and the time of the quiz, you can also hide the quiz on the course page. I'm sure we'll be demonstrating that later on. Then also, when should it be closed, then you enable and set it. The time limit, you have to enable it. If it is 45 minutes, then 45 here. If it is in hours, if a quiz can take weeks, I don't know which quiz can take maybe days and weeks, then you give that as well. Then when time expires, open attempts are submitted automatically, and please leave it aside, because if you pick attempts must be submitted before time expires or they are not counted, meaning if you have 10 items in the quiz and the learner answered 6 and the time has elapsed, the 6 will not be marked, especially the objective type questions. Then here we have, there is a grace period when open attempt but no more question answered. This one, it can be submitted but you can't do anything. So once you pick the default, once the learner is answering, automatically it's being submitted. If you pick this, then you can have submission grace period. So the learner has maybe 1 day or hours and the likes to submit. That's when you are picking this, the grace period. So know about it and play with it. Then the grading, grade category. In this case, you can put in a CA, or if you have other kind of categorized grade, then you do that. Then grade to pass, we've talked about this in different MOODLE. Attempts allowed, unlimited. If you use unlimited, then it should be for formative assessment. The learner should try it and know about it. Then grading method, you want the highest one, but if you are going for summative assessment, it's advisable to pick one. So in that case, it's going for the highest grade. So but if it is adaptive or formative one, you can go for 3, unlimited, and the likes. Now go to the layout, new page, every question per new page. Then also we have 3 questions and the likes. It depends on the format you want to do. Then navigation method, should it be that the learner can move from question 1 to 10 and answer 10 and come back, then that's free. If you make it sequential, then the system will not allow the learner to move to question 2 unless he or she answers the first question. Then question behavior, shuffle within questions. Yes, if you have 50 questions and students have logged on to take this quiz, somebody's question 1 should be somebody's question 10 and the likes. That's okay. Then how questions behave, deferred feedback. And if you are going for summative assessment, it's advisable to go for the deferred feedback. If you go for adaptive mode, the learner can submit and see the answer, correct answer, and can change. So you defer the feedback until the learner clicks on the submit button. If you are going for the deferred feedback with certainty based marking, CBM, then the same thing until the person finished the questions or finished answering the questions, and the person is sure that all the questions that I'm answering, I have 90% that I'll score so that's sensitive based marking, which normally we don't use in this part of the world and the likes. You may read about this. We will give you some materials to read so you can try them. Show more, but allow redo within an attempt. This where you are going for the adaptive mode, then you can do some redo. That's for formative assessment. All this you can just set it, turn your role to a student and try it and see how it looks like. Each attempt builds on the last attempt. Yep. Then review option, normally this happens when you want summative. Don't let learners see whether the answer they've selected is correct during the process. Immediately after the attempt, no, they shouldn't see. Later, while the quiz is still open, they shouldn't see the correct answer. Then after the quiz is closed, they shouldn't see. If not, so do then the right answer, and the likes. So it's some selections that you can make and deselect some of them. For example, you don't want them to see whether what they've answered is correct. Immediately after the attempt, we'll give you some documents to read to understand each item that is here. Then move on to the appearance. Show the user's picture, no image. If you want image, you want it to be small or large, then select it. Decimal places in grades. Do you want the default one? If not, you pick 0. And you normally pick on decimal places when the learner will have so many attempts, like 3 attempts, and he or she will have different marks, and in which case you may select some decimal place for the questions and also the grade. Extra restriction, if you want to restrict your learners in such a way that unless they have a password to the quiz, they cannot attempt it, then you type it here. If you type maybe, for example, that 1 2 3 and you've forgotten it, even you can just on marks and see it and copy it for them, and you click on it again. Then require network address, no, unless you want them to get a network address which should be provided by the network administrator. If you are going for the adaptive mode, so let's assume I move up and select let me see the adaptive mode. Every question, okay, adaptive mode. In that case, I will enable this, and if the learner is practicing and answers this quiz in adaptive mode for formative assessment or for trial, how many minutes or days or hours should the person wait after the first attempt before you attempt the second one? So maybe the person attempt the first, he had the first attempt and had 6 out of 10. Should he or she immediately start the second attempt? If not, then you can give some, maybe 30 minutes. The person should go and read and come back. Then after the second attempt, the delay between later attempt, so after the second attempt, do you want an hour? So that's how this works, so that it will not be that the person will be playing with it for some kind of self-assessment. If you want browser security and you pick full screen pop with some JavaScript, you must have your browser to be compatible with that JavaScript, in which case the learner cannot move and be searching for the correct answers. Overall feedback: if you want to, for example, show to your learners about their performance, even if it is out of 10, the system can calculate out of 100 and give a feedback in terms of either excellent, very good, or A, B plus, and the likes. So with this demonstration, let me just demonstrate with the UW grading policy. From 80% to 100, that is A. Then we move on to, I can now add 3 more feedback fields. Then from 75%, so we have the grade boundary. Scroll down, have the grade boundary. So you have 75%. This is B plus. B plus. Then from 70 up to 74, we know that is B. Yeah, I'm sure that's B, but this one is B plus. So I have 70 to 70, so you must add a percent symbol, that is B. Then we have 65%, that will be C plus, and this will serve as a motivation for them. Add 3 more feedback fields. If you know the interpretation, you can put it in bracket: excellent, very good, satisfactory, blah blah blah, and the likes. So I'm adding 3 more feedback fields. So all that we're doing now, we are setting up the parameters of the quiz. There's no single quiz item in the quiz that I'm creating now. Later on, we'll learn how to set different types of quizzes. Moodle provides about 9 types of quizzes. We have multiple choice, we have true or false, we have fill-in, we have matching, and the likes. So all that we're doing here, is looking at the parameters, and you can play with it for summative assessment, for formative assessment. So we are now here from 60% up to 64, that is C. Then 55%, that is D plus. Then we have 50%, that is D. Then the last one is 0 to 49, that is E. If you want to go and start setting up quiz into the question bank, you click on save and display. But if you want to return to the course, save and return to course. So let's try this, and then I'll show you how you can move from the quiz. Look at how the quiz symbol is. There's no item in this quiz, so if I click on it, it will behave like clicking on save and display. So this is it. Then edit quiz, click on edit quiz. Then this is where you have the question bank. You don't have any question in this question is open, questions 0, so you can have all this. And if you want to start, then you go to add a new question. So if like we click on save and display, this is where we'll come to, then we'll start adding a new question. We don't have any question in the question bank, and we'll start building some items. So once you are introduced to true or false item, you can have so many of them in your question bank, multiple choice, fill in, etc., etc. Thanks for watching.